Congressman Scott, we're slated to start from this side, but this question certainly eliminates you. You may respond to it if you like at the end of this cycle. Why do you think you would be more effective in passing legislation than the incumbent?
Let's say the question again.
What makes you think you can be more effective passing legislation?
The question is, what makes me think that I'm going to be more effective at passing legislation than the incumbent? The incumbent has been there for 18 years. He has not had one of any of his sponsored bills passed through Congress. So I suppose I can't get any worse. However, there are issues out there that the Republicans and Democratic Party are not willing to address. They don't talk about because there's lobbyist money connected to it. And I can be more effective because I can get attention on these issues because I love to talk about it. And that's the fact that I want to see a return from Glass-Steagall, which will basically separate the different types of banking industries. There was also a banking legislation that was passed in 2004 that made it the Financial Services Modernization Act of 1999, I apologize, which did away with restrictions on the integration of banking, insurance, and stock trading. Oh, I'm sorry, and the Interstate Banking and Branch Efficiency Act of 1994, which allowed for larger international banks to more easily swallow your small and local banks that cost this district jobs. If you notice now, all the banks are major, large banks. We have very few of the local banks that we did 16 years ago. Also, I have a question about House Resolution 3808, which was slipped through Congress and through the Senate, both through the House and through the Senate by a voice vote. And the records of who voted yes were not kept, but this was sneaked through, and this would have been easier for the banks to cover their trails with the illegal foreclosures that are happening right now. On the first two, Mr. Scott voted for. On the third, I can't find evidence that he voted for it, but due to his pro-banking history, I have no reason to think that he hasn't. So ultimately, I believe that these are issues that anger Americans, and that I can use the support of those in the 3rd District, private property, eminent domain protection, and support and reform other issues that directly impact people financially in this district and your fellow citizens, and go across all sections of our communities. And with your support, I believe that I can be more effective because this is something that affects all of us. Thank you very much. And he also voted for the second piece of TARP, even though he didn't vote for the first one.
So how do I compare myself to Robert C. Scott, congressman in the 3rd Congressional District, who's been in Congress for 18 years, and I have no political background? And how do I know that I'll be more effective? I don't know anything. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what you're going to choose to do in the voting booth. But what I believe in is that you will make that decision. You will look inside yourself and decide, do I want to vote the same way I've always voted and go down the same path I'm going now? Or am I at a crossroads? Is this nation at a crossroads right now, looking for a new direction and looking for the people that will reach out to both sides of the aisle? I hope you make that decision. I hope you pray like I will pray about this. This is a very important election this year. I believe I can do it.
Let me say that we are living in some trying times right now, and I know that
right now you're looking at someone to come up here with a magic answer that will feed to you. Perhaps he is the person to go to Washington. I think what's in the person's background, certainly what's in their heart, it really dictates what that person is going to do. I've practiced law for 31 years, continuously. And of course, I mentioned that I was in the Marine Corps. I mentioned I did a few other things. But I'm also rooted in my faith. I'm rooting in doing things that are right. I'm less concerned about doing things just because I'm a Republican, or less concerned about doing it just because the Democrats want it. I want to cross the aisles. I want to talk to the people. I want to have the dialogue. I want to do the things that will bring prosperity, economic prosperity, not just to our district, but to Virginia. I want to look down at that 1 out of 5 dropout rate in Portsmouth, some of the highest in the state. I also want to look at the unemployment rate in Richmond, perhaps amongst the highest in the country. I want to look at those 18 years of Congressman Bobby Scott and see what I can do better. Now, I'm not feeding this to you to suggest that perhaps something does not exist in our district that should. You can go downtown Norfolk, you can go downtown Portsmouth, go downtown Richmond, you can see what is going on in our district. To say that almost anything would be better than what Congressman Scott has given us, I think would be unfair. I think it would be unfair to him. He has brought some good, but I'll tell you, in 18 years, when you look at 1 in 5 dropout rate in our high schools, 20% of our students do not go. We have industry that does not come to the district. We have businesses that are closing. We have an economic situation that is probably second to none. We need to have a leader in Washington who represents the district, who will not go and play the partisanship game, who will not go and blame the Republicans, who will not go and blame the Democrats, but who will get up there and he will make real things happen. That's what I intend to do when I get to Washington, and I intend to take my experience as a lawyer, my experience as a Navy JAG, my experience as a Marine, certainly my experience as a husband and also a father and a Christian. And I hope that you will believe that I will do that. Thank you.
This is probably something you haven't heard in a while. I plan on bringing my experience as a social worker into Congress. What, not a lawyer? I'm not a fancy politician. I'm not made of a lot of money. But I have worked with families my entire life. I've seen firsthand someone losing their job. I've seen firsthand a child coming up to me saying, I made the grade, but I can't afford it, so I joined the military instead of going to college, which is a drag for poor kids to me. I've seen children not be on health insurance. You know, my opponent has played the partisan game. He's been up there a decade. We haven't had anything to show for it. That's up a 96% voting record with Bush. He voted for the TARP bailout, which, you know, I understand why voting for the TARP bailout, but when you vote for the TARP bailout and then you don't vote for the financial reforms, aren't you supposed to try to prevent the issues from happening again instead of just continuing to bail out over and over and over? Of course, not to mention the TARP bailout was the biggest one being his wife's bank. A bank you can't even be a member of unless you have $40 million in the bank account. So how'd that help homeowners? He voted to abolish Medicare. How's that going to help anyone? He voted to end teachers' jobs, firefighters, cops, just 3 months ago. He also voted against raising the minimum wage. So his pledge to America is a death panel to the middle class. Vote for me. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that we're providing the infrastructure that we need to create jobs, to make education #1 again in the world, to make us a leader in job creation and make us a leader in providing the education of our young children. We need to invest in our children again. We need to invest in our small businesses. We need to invest in making sure that people are healthy. So, vote for Rick. RickWaugh.com.
Well, before I start with my answer, I just want to point this out. I can't help but point this out. Look up here. This is America. you got all your choices here. 3rd District, you got 4 guys running, they're here. 7th District, you got 3 guys running, 2 of us are here. But we're willing to come up here and let you see the differences and let you ask the questions so you can make a decision. What would I do different? How do I feel like I would represent you better than the incumbent Eric Cantor? Let's start with this. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a career politician, nor do I seek to be one. My allegiance is first and foremost to this, the Constitution of the United States of America. At the federal level, my responsibility as a representative is to see to it that your rights are not infringed upon either by other Americans or by the government itself. I will not vote for a bill or against a bill simply based on the fact that the party hierarchy wants me to do that. I think for myself, any decision I make is going to be based on, is it in conjunction with this document? Is it right for the federal government to be involved in that? Because understand, folks, when folks like me come up here and tell you we need to get rid of this department or that bureau or this agency, we're not saying to get rid of it and not replace it, that people should starve, people should go hungry, people should not have a home. What we're saying is we believe that churches, friends and family, philanthropic organizations, you can do better for yourself than some government program. If government programs were so wonderful and actually did what they were touted to do, we wouldn't still be arguing about the need for more government programs. The problems would have been fixed by now. So when I'm up there representing you, my allegiance is to this document and how it affects your life in the 7th District of Virginia. And I want to see to it that your rights are not infringed upon.
First of all, I want to explain to my Republican opponent that I'm not blaming the Republicans. I just cited historical fact, and he thought I was blaming the Republicans.
That's right, that's right.
It's been suggested I hadn't done anything. You know, I wasn't prepared for that question, but I just jotted a few things I've done in the last couple of years. One, I was the lead Democrat, I was a lead in the House on the Jim Webb's GI bill that expanded veterans' education benefits, the largest expansion since World War II. I was a had a lead role in the ID theft bill that dealt with ID theft. A lead in the recent crack powder cocaine disparity, the notorious 100-to-1 disparity, where 5 grams of crack gets you 5 years of mandatory minimum. You need 500 grams of powder for the same penalty, and blacks are much more likely to be caught with crack than powder. We didn't eliminate the disparity, but we made a historic change, a first reduction in the mandatory minimum that anybody can remember in at least 40 years. Now, I've also passed the Deaths in Custody bill and the Campus Safety Act, and those are hung up by Republicans in the Senate. But suggestion was made by my Republican opponent about children. Now, let me just say, I resent the suggestion. I just resent it. And I don't expect an apology. I just resent it.
All right.
Because when it comes to children's health, when we did the health care bill, with my legislation, you can find that all over the health care bill where children's health was protected. Talked about looking into the dropout rate. You ask somebody on the Education and Labor Committee who's leading the charge to reduce the dropout rate, it's me. Not just talking about it, looking at it, but doing something about it. I did expect him to say something about this, so I made a little list of organizations representing children who have given me awards. The Champion of Children Award by the First Focus Campaign for Children, a national bipartisan child advocacy group, just came last week. But in addition to that, the American Academy of Children's and Adolescent Psychiatry, the Children's Student Association, the U.S. Student Association, Reach Out and Read, Center for Youth, the Virginia Peninsula Boys and Girls Club, the Head Start Association, Council of Chief State School Officers, National Association of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Counselors. The action starts here, Certificate of Recognition for Service to Children and Youth, the American Federation of Children, the Children's Defense Fund, the Child Welfare League, Council for Exceptional Children, Achievable Dream Academy, a 9 honorary degree, have all given me awards for what I've done for children, and I gotta sit up here and listen to a Republican trying to